It's it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be really exciting to rally those ideas around. But there's also a part of me that also wants to ask you that, you know, uh, you mentioned that atoms are finite, but knowledge is infinite, and that in itself allows us to combine atoms all the ways we can, all the ways we want to, which I'm excited for. And also, when we have the opportunity to really leverage AI to do that, it's gonna be just we don't even know what's gonna happen. Like new chemical compounds,
Right.
new medicine, understanding the universe. It's gonna be breathtaking. But while we get there, there is the case to be told that uh, at least my generation or millennials as well don't want to have kids, don't want to have children. There's also the fertility crisis. And there's also this looming, we've discussed this in terms of Malthus, but there is this sense of, more people is bad because resources are going to end. And that brings me into thinking, resources, tangible ones, even though they become cheaper and it's less difficult to access them, they are finite. So how can we, balance those out in terms of there is infinite possibilities, but at the same time, as time goes by, maybe those resources may deplete. I mean, the environment and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good point. And here's what we've experienced and what the insight, one of the insights was of Julian Simon is he said, when the price of something goes up, four things happen. The first thing is people use less of it. So they naturally will try to economize if the price goes up. The second thing is when the price goes up, people will also go out and try to find that thing, find more of that thing, right? So the supply increases. The third thing that happens is that people will look for substitutes. What else could we use that will give us the same utility that might be more abundant? For example, back in the 1800s, people discovered that if they could go catch a whale and take this whale apart, they could extract this oil, and that oil they could use to make oil for reading lamps. And it produces beautiful light. The problem is when people started seeing this beautiful light, they wanted it. So the price of oil starts to go up and everybody's out chasing the whales. And since the whales were common property, you start running out of whales. Well, the price goes up, and that price increase caused people to start looking for substitutes. And one of the substitutes that was discovered was kerosene from crude oil, that you could actually take crude oil that you dug up out of the ground, you pumped out of the ground, and you could refine this crude oil. And one of the products you could get out of there was kerosene, and you could use it to have a lamp with. And it was 90% cheaper than whale oil. And the light wasn't quite as good, but it was 90% cheaper. So suddenly you have all of this interest in kerosene, and it took care of it saved the whales because now whales aren't hunted anymore because you've got now something else that provided light that was much more abundant. And the price of light went down. And then along comes electric lights. And we see another dramatic drop in the price of lighting because now you're using electricity to light things, and you can generate electricity on demand. And so, yes, if we think about, well, I'm going to run out of this thing, well, you never really run out. What happens is the price goes up. And that price, as it goes up, as it gets higher and higher, people are really motivated and incentivized to find a substitute or to find more or find a substitute. The fourth thing, Alex, is that people will recycle. If something becomes really, really expensive, they'll try to figure out how to recycle it if they can. The soda that you're drinking in your soda can, that can has been recycled 7 times. The
Wow.
aluminum has this, it's almost 100% recyclable. So we just use it again and again and again. Yeah, it takes energy to recycle it, but those atoms, they continue to be used and reused. So my experience and history tells us that usually, and what Julian Simon said is when you have a price crisis, where the price of something really goes up, if you wait, you'll end up with the price will actually be lower than where it was before the crisis started, because people will shift their focus and try to discover this new knowledge that will create this abundance. And then you'll end up with something that will actually be better off and cheaper than it was before that crisis happened. So we tend to look at these price crises as these temporary opportunities that really shift people's focus to say, let's go out and see if we can just find some new knowledge. If we can, we can make a lot of money and we can solve this problem, and we'll actually